The Monday, January 11th, 2021 Scott County Planning Advisory Commission meeting. And we will start with the roll call. I will call the roll. This evening we have two of our commissioners who are here via Zoom. And I will start with Commissioner Henches.
Here.
Commissioner Hartman.
Here.
Commissioner Huber.
Here.
Commissioner Robbie.
Here.
Commissioner Johnson.
Here.
Commissioner Von Hoff, here. Commissioner Watson.
Here.
Okay, also this evening, I see that our planning manager, Brad Davis, is here. I know Marty Schmitz, our zoning administrator, is here as well. Greg Wagner, our senior planner, is here. I know that Barb Simonson, deputy clerk to the board, is here via Zoom. And I understand that our county commissioner, Tom Wolf, is also here this evening via Zoom as well.
And Nathan.
And Megan? Oh, Nathan, yes. Sorry, Nathan. And Nathan Hall, our associate planner, is here as well, right in front of me. So our next item of business is our approval of our December 14th, 2020 meeting minutes. The Planning Advisory Commissioners have been given a copy of the minutes, had an opportunity to review the minutes. Are there any corrections, deletions, or additions to the minutes as printed? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll move to approve the minutes.
I have a motion by Commissioner Johnson. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Robbie. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I will call roll to approve the minutes. Commissioner Hartman.
Yes.
Commissioner Huber.
Abstention.
Commissioner Robbie.
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
Commissioner Von Hoff. Yes. Commissioner Watson.
Yes.
Commissioner Henses.
Yes.
The minutes are approved. Before we continue on, I'd just like to make a amendment to the agenda this evening. Between item number 4 and number 5, before the planning manager update, we will be having our elections for our 2021 Planning Advisory Commission meeting positions of chair, vice chair, and recording secretary. So that will become number 5. Planning manager update will become number 6, and general and adjourn will be number 7 on the minutes. The next item is the consent agenda. All items on the consent agenda are considered by the Planning Commission to be routine and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a Planning Commission board member or a member of the public so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and be considered separately. This evening we have one item on the consent agenda. That is the Hauer Rezoning. It's number 2020-082. It's a request to rezone 59.7 acres from TR, Transitional Reserve District, to TR-C, Transitional Reserve Cluster District. Location is Section 19, Spring Lake, and the current zoning is Transitional Reserve District. Would anyone like to remove that from the consent agenda? Okay. Since that is the sole item, I will entertain a motion now at this time to approve the consent agenda.
Mr. Chair, I move we approve the consent agenda as written.
I have a motion by Commissioner Huber. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Watson.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
question. Should we make note that this is subject to the approval, written approval from the township?
Yes. That would be a friendly amendment.
That's fine.
Commissioner Huber. Commissioner Watson, you accept that amendment?
Accept that.
Okay. Making that amendment on the motion, at this time, I will call roll. Commissioner Huber.
Yes.
Commissioner Robbie.
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
Commissioner Von Hoff. Yes. Commissioner Watson.
Yes.
Commissioner Henches.
Yes.
Commissioner Hartman.
Yes.
The consent agenda is approved. Our next item this evening is a public hearing. And this is the rezoning and preliminary plat 2020-079. And it is two parts, a request to rezone 7.98 acres from rural residential reserve district to rural residential 2, which is rural residential single-family district. Second part of that is a request for approval of preliminary plat and final plat of the Bowler addition consisting of 2 lots on 7.9 acres. The location is Section 24, Spring Lake Township. The current zoning is rural residential reserve district. And Mr. Hall, the associate planner, will be making the staff report this evening. Good evening, Mr. Hall, and welcome.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Chair. The subject property is located in Section 24 of Spring Lake Township at the corner of Meadowlark Lane and County Road 68. Subject property is just under 8 acres. And it features an existing home, wetland area, and also a pole barn located on the southern part of the parcel. The owner is also purchasing a small portion here from the neighbor that's less than half an acre. The property is currently zoned RR1, and they are applying to rezone it to RR2. The northern lot would encompass the existing home, and the southern lot would include the pole building. The applicant is a home builder, and it is their intent to build a home adjacent to the pole building on the southern parcel. The primary and alternate septic sites have been identified for Lot 2, and the Scott County Environmental Services staff has reviewed the application and found some remaining items that need to be addressed for the subdivision to comply with the Scott County Septic Ordinance. And a memo was attached to the staff report, and with those items noted. And staff has also noted that the drainage utility easements over in the southeast corner of the property will need to be vacated for the septic sites to be placed there. That is something that will need to be vacated by a process the township has. No grading has been proposed as part of the plat. The home grading would occur after the building permit approval. It has been proposed that less than 1 acre of land would be disturbed by the future driveways and home sites. That eliminates the requirement for stormwater control practices. The county does require conservation easements that will need to be dedicated with the final plat. Scott County Natural Resources Engineer has provided a memo that was included in the staff report as well. They note several items that will need to be addressed prior to county board consideration. The proposed, both of the lots have road frontage off of 190th Street or County Road 68 and Meadowlark Lane. Both are paved roadways. The subdivision, as is shown here, does not propose any new access point. However, the Scott County Highway Department notes that the subdivision ordinance does not allow for private driveways to have direct access to minor arterial roadways in the rural residential service area. The Highway Department has stated the existing driveway will need to be relocated to a local street, which would be Meadowlark Lane. The requirement to relocate the driveway does create a significant issue for the applicant and the property owner. To relocate the driveway, access to Meadowlark Lane will require either an easement through the neighboring property, or it will require significant wetland fill to access Meadowlark Lane to the west. And my understanding is that they have, the applicant and the Highway Department have had are having a conversation related to this, and these items will need to be addressed prior to county board consideration. The Spring Lake Town Board will be making a recommendation later this week at their monthly board meeting. And their comments will be forwarded on to the county board. We have received some comments from the public, and we do have members of the public here tonight. I'll just provide a couple of written comments here. They were provided to the commissioners just prior to this meeting. And both of them do relate to the density of the property. And so as staff, I will note that this is an issue that was addressed in our comprehensive plan. The area is guided as rural residential growth. Both of these members of the public who live in the nearby area wrote in to have concerns about the increased density in the area. And again, it is in the rural residential growth area, and so this will be within the limitations. It's a 1 per 2.5 acre density requirement. Scott County staff is recommending approval of the request with the conditions that are listed in the staff report to be completed before the county board consideration. And I'll stand by for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Hall.
Mr. Chairman?
Commissioner Henches, yes.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners Nathan? That applicant has been advised to address this matter with the Highway Department prior to the public hearing. It didn't sound to me like they did that. It sounded like they were still discussing it. And that's a huge issue. What is the status of that? Have they resolved the issue, or is it just in discussion?
I'm sorry, Commissioner, I did not hear the first part of the question. The applicant is having a discussion with the Highway Department, and I believe they may be able to speak to that more clearly.
Could we do that? Could I get that answer? Because my paperwork says that this was supposed to be addressed prior to the public hearing, not in discussion, addressed.
Applicant here this evening,
The applicant is here, Mr. Chair.
and they will respond to that question?
Right. Mr. Cuddle?
Okay. Yeah. Commissioner Henches, the applicant is here, and I believe they will respond to that question. Is that correct, Mr. Hall?
Thank you,
Correct.
Mr. Chair.
Chair?
Yeah. Commissioner Hartman?
This letter from Mary Borkart in opposition to variance, she said she was the past owner of the property. And is she also the same person that put in the septic tank without a permit?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Hartman, I believe what Ms. Bocart is referring to is back before this entire area was subdivided, before Wood Duck Pond was created, that they were the original owner back at that time, not that they were the owner that put in the holding tank, not that they were the person who built the whole building, but that they were an owner back in the past.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Do the commissioners have any further questions for Mr. Hall at this time?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Johnson?
these 3 issues that are out there, one is about actually the holding tank. I was under the impression had something to do with the pole building. Is that right? Or no?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Johnson, during previous discussions that the Environmental Services Department had with the applicant, it was understood that there's a holding tank that is attached to the pole building and not part of the property. And that was not something that went through the proper authorization, the proper permitting. And so that is something that the Environmental Services Department noted in their letter.
So, Mr. Chairman, these 3 issues
will all be taken care of before it goes to the commissioners. The highway, environmental, natural resources, and environmental services, right?
Correct, Commissioner Johnson. The items will need to be addressed prior to board consideration.
And Mr. Chairman, Nathan, could you point to where this easement might be on another property for the driveway? Is it going to be on the new subdivided piece? Okay, where's the,
So the property here is currently accessed off of the county road.
Yep,
They have a
I'm familiar
direct
with it.
driveway access. And so they would either need to provide that driveway run it along the northern part of the property here to connect over with Meadowlark this way. That would involve wetland disturbance, and so there are a number of things they would need to do in that direction. My understanding is that the Scott County Highway Department has directed the applicant to talk with Soil and Water about what that process would look like and if that process is feasible. And the other alternative would be to work with this property owner to get a easement over to Meadowlark Lane on the other side of the property to the east.
so that would be pretty long, right? Or was it be to their driveway and then share?
Yeah, Commissioner Johnson, it would be probably a 750 to 800 foot long driveway.
Interesting. Thank you.
Are there any questions for Mr. Hall, commissioners, at this time? Okay, thank you, Mr. Hall. There may be additional questions as we continue here. This is a public hearing. If you would like to make comment on this application, you can come up to the podium at this time. There's a sign-up sheet at the podium. Please sign in and start your comments with your name.
Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Commission, my name is Mike Harvath. I live at 5591 193rd Street East. I'm a neighbor to Mr. Bowler. And I have some concerns about this property vis-a-vis the aesthetics and also how it fits into the general condition, or if you will, the neighborhood. Putting a home that's much smaller than that pole building within 10 feet or so of that pole building certainly isn't in the spirit of what the homeowners in this area intended when we purchased multi-acre lots and built homes much larger. We have certainly concerns about the environmental impact of a potential drive that would have to go through and fill in wetland as a potential risk. And we also just in general have concerns about impact on property values and frankly how common this is in the area. I don't know how many homes are built within 10 or so feet of a pole building that's much larger than the proposed structure. We just think it certainly wouldn't fit the neighborhood as it exists today. And I wanted to register my concern.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Harvath. Would anyone else like to make comment on this application? And I could check with Mr. Wagner. Has there been any electronic contact? Okay, thank you.
I'm Mark Haltman, and I have, my property is 5851 Meadowlark Lane. And I pretty much feel the same way Mike does as far as the house sitting right next to the pole barn. I know he's got the property there to do this. It's just 10 feet away. I mean, that's like we're back downtown or back in Prior Lake. and I think we all moved out here to have bigger areas and not put everything in one postage stamp in our property. But I realize that, we don't have, he has the property to do it, and we don't have any restrictions as far as how close we can put a 40 by 80 building against a 1,400-foot foundation or 1,800-foot foundation for a house. And I guess that's my only concern there.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Holtman. Any other further comments at this time? Okay, thank you very much. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Mr. Chairman, question. Are we going to have an opportunity to discuss this situation with the property developer?
Sure.
Okay.
Yes,
Can I have them
absolutely.
call up now, or one good after we close the public hearing?
Can close the public hearing and then we
Okay.
can certainly call
Gotcha.
them.
All right. I move we close the public hearing.
Excuse me, can I,
Oh, yes, absolutely.
sorry,
You made it just under the wire.
that's the story of my life.
No, we would hold the public hearing open for you.
So I'm Cindy Harvath. I'm the spouse to this person, and first of all, love Jamie Buller. So I want Jamie to know that the questions we're asking are absolutely not personal. We
Sure.
all want everybody to do what they want to do with their property. I'm going to ask my question probably out of ignorance, but there is this large pole building, and it's not necessarily like our neighbors that have those that have done equestrian or animal stuff there. So my worry is more of what comes into play for statutes in the county that keep that building from being used as some industrial kind of thing, or maybe somebody's going to use it as a storage for, I don't know, whatever. Because hopefully Jamie will be able to sell that piece of property, but I'm not sure, maybe he's got somebody who wants to have a small house next to a really, really big building. But I'd like to just kind of make sure we don't end up starting up a little industry going on. And frankly, I think a lot of us are here tonight, well, us guys, because there has not always been teeth behind rules that have been put into play in our county or in our township. People have been told they couldn't have driveways coming off of the highway, and that happened, and nobody enforced that. Nobody came and made them remove driveways. Nobody said, look, you got to stick to the rules. We're all here to protect this beautiful wetland and this property that we've all, a lot of us have spent our lifetime working to have, and we plan to leave that property in a casket, not selling it and partitioning it off. So I'm here to voice my concern. I want Jamie to be able to do what he wants to do with his land. I just want to have respect for the values that those of us that came out here established why we came out here. So I thank you all for your attention and having a hearing that we can come and, have a verbal discussion about our concerns and hopefully put them into the file.
Right, and that's a great question. Actually, it's a really good question on what can happen with the building. I'm going to ask either Mr. Davis or Mr. Hall to come up here and explain that, because, and that's a valid concern about what can happen with this, because when the property changes and how the building can be used for. Mr. Hall?
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Chair. The property, of course, it is in a residential district, so the only opportunity that the applicant or any future property owner would have is to apply for a home extended business to run a business out of the detached accessory building. There are limitations on that, and currently the property is eligible for that. It is more than 5 acres in the RR1 district. So Mr. Bowler, with his property configured the way it is now, he could apply to have a home extended business in the accessory building. With it being partitioned off in this way, it would, in the RR2 district, they would need at least 10 acres in order to be eligible to apply for a home extended business. So the pole building would only be able to be used in the future for just personal uses, storage, personal workshop, that nature of things.
Okay, thank you for that.
Mr. Chairman, did I hear you
Commissioner
say it
Johnson.
was more than 5 acres?
No,
Oh, I thought I
it
heard.
is now, but once it's
Okay.
divided, I think that was, is that correct, Mr.
Correct,
Hall?
Mr. Chair. Yeah.
And the size of this building is still going to fit legally on the 4 point some acres?
Correct, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Johnson, the maximum on a 3-some acre lot would be 3,000 square feet, which this would be.
Okay.
Are there any other?
Building next to that barn?
I'm sorry?
I know, the proposed building next to
Sir,
the shop.
sir, if you want to just come up to the podium so we
I was
can,
just asking if you could show him the proposed building next to the shop that's there now.
Right.
And so you can see it physically or what it's gonna look like.
can you put that in the overhead? I know there's
I
a,
mean, it was sent out to
right,
us on the,
okay.
Yeah, so we don't have any elevation images of that or what have you, but yeah, there is, on the preliminary plat, they have here proposed the home footprint and garage footprint.
Mr. Hall, are those, is that due to the setbacks, that it's that close to the shed?
Correct, Mr. Chair, so there is a 35-foot setback they would need to maintain from the wetland here, that they would not be able to have structures, and so I believe that's why it's pushed up that distance from the shed.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Nathan, what did you say the size, did you say that shed, what size did you say it is? Do you have an accurate measurement of it?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Henches, the building permit, and this seems to line up with the aerial image as well. The building permit notes that it is, I believe, a 75 feet by 40 feet, which would be a 3,000 square foot structure.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Hartman?
Question, Nathan, looking at the shed and the proposed house, which would be 10 feet away, you think the roof, like the gable ends, would be at the same end? Where, what I'm getting at is, for example, rain, snow coming off the roof from the pole shed, coming off the roof of the house, landing in a 10-foot area. Is that right?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Henches, yeah, would they be directing snowfall and such into this narrow area between the existing shed and the proposed house? I do not have the elevation drawings or things of that nature, but perhaps the applicant could speak to that.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Henches?
Commissioners,
Yep.
Nathan, that existing shed, I'm sorry, I have horse barns, 3 of them on my property. I've never built a horse barn that was ended with a 5 on one side. They're always zeros because of the way you have to space it out. And that looks bigger to me than you're saying it is. I know that you got the measurements from the applicant, but I really think somebody should check. I think it's bigger than that.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Henches, that is something that we could check before this goes to board. We could do a measurement if the applicant is willing to do that.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hall. Just stay available, and I know that some of the commissioners had questions for this before, or we'll go to discussion before we consider action on this. Commissioner Watson, did you Want to hear from the applicant?
The applicant, I'd like to have the applicant come forward, please.
And when you come up here, sir, could you just, for the record, make sure that you write onto our sheet there, and then start your comments with your name so we know who's speaking. Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Doug Cutting. I'm with Greenwood Design Build, and we would potentially be the builder of the new home on the property by the shed.
Okay.
In this case, we are also the applicant.
Okay.
Question with regard to the driveway.
Yes.
It's apparently obvious that you cannot have the driveway where it's currently located, right?
The driveway off of 68 has been in place there for,
20 years.
20-some years. It has come to attention through this process that the Highway Department would like it relocated as a contingency of this rezoning.
You have to relocate that driveway. I mean, that's a given, right?
It's not a given. I have been reaching out to Craig Jensen at the Highway Department. I finally got a return phone call from him last Friday, and we discussed it. It is a regulation of a rezoning that they are trying to minimize the amount of driveways on 68. He would like us to exhaust efforts to remove it, but does understand that the feasibility of relocating it is going to significantly impact wetland. So what he requested of me Friday was to reach out to Scott County Soil and basically get their opinion on whether they would be in favor of modifying the wetland to do so or not. Mr. Jensen left me with the impression that if Scott County Soil was against filling a portion of the wetland, a significant portion of the wetland, that they would then remove the requirement to relocate it.
So it's continuing to be an issue then?
Yes, yeah, it is very much in discussion currently.
Do you have any idea when that discussion will terminate?
Well, like I said, I just found out from Mr. Jensen on Friday of what he would like us to do, so I now need to, haven't had the time to reach out to Scott County Soil until today, so until those discussions start, I'm not sure.
I'm done.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah, Commissioner Henches.
could you have the measurements on that existing shed?
They are 40, it's 40 by 75, 40 feet by 75 feet.
Did you have any further questions, Commissioner Henches, on it right now?
No, not right now.
Okay. So there's no elevations of the house and what's going to be there ultimately? I see a footprint of it.
We do have the home designed, however, I didn't bring that with me tonight.
Right.
It hadn't come up as part of the
Some of the
requirements.
concern that we're hearing from the neighbors and those of us that are familiar with this neighborhood, which I am and I know other board members are as well, that how is this going to fit into the neighborhood that's existing there?
Yes.
And a very valid concern on that. And what efforts have you taken to do that when you have a big building there and the restrictions of the site there?
Yeah, absolutely, and I believe it was brought up even, is the home placed there due to the buffer setbacks? It absolutely is placed there due to the setbacks. We have a very architecturally pleasing home designed for this property. I would call it a luxury style home. The proximity to the shed is simply something that's rather unavoidable. We do intend to pull the home slightly closer toward Meadowlark as this is evolving, which will also then buffer the view of the shed from Meadowlark. The proposed new home design has a fairly high gable over the garage section, which has some bonus room space within it. That height and that elevation will definitely reduce the visibility of the shed from Meadowlark.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I have one more question, please.
Commissioner Henches?
Has the additional property in fact been purchased where the two septic locations are being shown?
That is in process right now. The deeds are being created by the title company. Once the deeds are finalized, the closing will take place.
Are there other questions on the commissioners? Thank you very much. Thank you very much. At this time, is there further discussion from the commissioners? Okay,
Mr. Chairman,
yeah, Commissioner Henches.
I think we're looking at this too soon. I heard so many proposed should happen, will probably happen. I would much rather see it set up where the house, they show us where the house is going to be, where they show us where the driveway is going to be. When they assure us they bought the land for the septic systems. And I also share some concerns about whether or not this fits in this neighborhood. I just think there's too many what-ifs right now to even consider it.
Okay. Other comments? Okay. At this time, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Chair,
Yes, Commissioner Hartman?
I don't know if you closed the public hearing.
Yeah, we did.
We did not close because that lady came.
Oh, that's right. Good point. Thank you for the order. Yeah. At this point, I will look for a motion first to close the public hearing. Thank you, Commissioner Hartman. Did you want to make that motion?
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Hartman, second by Commissioner Henches to close the public hearing. Commissioner Huber?
Yeah, yes.
Commissioner Robbie?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Von Hoff? Yes. Commissioner Watson?
Yes.
Commissioner Henches?
Yes.
Commissioner Hartman?
Yes.
Public hearing is closed. At this time, now, I will entertain a motion for action on this item before us.
Mr. Chairman, based on the criteria for approval listed in the staff report, I recommend approval of the rezoning preliminary plat and final plat of Bowler Addition, consisting of 2 lots on 7.98 acres, noting that the recommendation is subject to approval of the conditions listed in the staff report that must be satisfactorily addressed prior to county board consideration of the project, in addition to the written approval of the township board.
I have a motion by Commissioner Robbie. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Commissioner Huber. Is there any discussion on this at this time? About
Mr. Chairman,
this? Yes, Commissioner Henches.
I would rather see us vote first to table this request until we have additional information.
Well, I have a motion on the table now, though.
All right.
So we have to go with the
All right.
motion before I send the table. Commissioner Watson?
Mr. Chairman, I was going to make the same comment that Commissioner Henches did as well.
Okay. Well, once the motion is on the table at this time, I will call for the vote in a second. One thing I would recommend if this motion passes and prevails is that elevation of the proposed home go forward to the county board so they can see what's going to be on there.
I have no problem with that. Yep.
Would you accept that amendment? Okay. At this time, I will call for a vote on the motion before us. Commissioner Robbie?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
I'll abstain.
Okay. Commissioner Von Hoff, yes. Commissioner Watson,
No.
Commissioner Henches,
No,
Commissioner Hartman,
Yes.
Commissioner Huber,
Yes.
and I did call Commissioner Robbie on this as well.
Yes.
Okay. The motion passes with 4 voting yes, 1 abstention, and 2 voting no. So this will go forward to the county board with recommendations and all of the conditions that exist on it, as well as the additional ones put on. Thank you very much for the information that you brought forward this evening. And this will go forward to the county board with our recommendation. No, but you can.
Oh, the reason why I abstain is because I've had a business relationship with Mr. Bowler's business.
Okay.
Ask you.
Our next item before the board this evening is our annual election of our officers. And our process that we use is we call for nominations. We have the chair, the vice chair, and the recording secretary. And at this time, and what we have done in the past, if the board is agreeable to this, is we can do them all at once if we have, unless we have multiple nominations for them. At this time, I will entertain nominations for the chair for the Planning Advisory Commission, Scott County Planning Advisory Commission for 2021.
Mr. Chair, I nominate Tom Von Hoff.
I have a
Chair.
nomination for Tom Von Hoff for chair.
I'll second.
I have a second. Are there any other nominations for chair? Are there any other nominations for chair? Are there any other nominations for chair? Okay, at this time,
Close the nominations.
okay,
A second.
motion to close the nominations for chair. At this time, I will entertain nominations for vice chair for the Planning Advisory Commission for 2021.
Mr. Chairman, I nominate Barb Johnson.
Barb Johnson is nominated. I have a nomination. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a second by Commissioner Henches. Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Can I have a motion to close the nominations on vice chair?
I so move.
Motion by Commissioner Robbie. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Huber. Final position is recording secretary. I'll entertain nominations for recording secretary.
And that's Mr. Watson,
Okay.
right? I'll move to approve, nominate Lee Watson.
Okay. Commissioner Watson. Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to close the,
Do we have a second?
yes. Oh, good point.
I'll second it.
Second by Commissioner, motion by Commissioner Johnson, second by Commissioner Huber. Hearing no other nominations, I will entertain a motion to close the nominations at this time for recording secretary.
I'll move.
Motion by Commissioner Johnson, second
Second.
by Commissioner Robbie. At this time, I will call roll to appoint the nominated positions for 2021. Tom Von Hoff for chair, Barb Johnson for vice chair, Lee Watson for recording secretary. Commissioner Henches,
Yes.
Commissioner Hartman,
Yes.
Commissioner Huber,
Yes.
Commissioner Robbie,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Von Hoff, yes. Commissioner Watson.
Yes.
The commissioners are appointed for these positions for 2021. Thank you very much. At this time, we will go to Brad Davis, our planning manager, for the manager update.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair, and thanks for selecting those positions. A reminder that when we have our Board of Adjustment agenda, when we have a variance request, at that agenda, we will also then select those same positions for the Board of Adjustment. So if you're wondering why you didn't select them, we'll wait until you meet as a Board of Adjustment when we make those selections. Just a few items to run through here in the update. Some items that you recommended to the board. I wanted to let you know that on December 15th, the board did approve the conditional use permit for the egg tourism operation and farm market. That was Mark and Jennifer Jensen were the applicants in Sand Creek Township, so that permit was approved. Earlier this week, January 5th, the board did approve the amendment to the conditional use permit for safety signs. That was in Newmarket Township. They also approved the conditional use permit for Soda Electric to operate a home extended business in Belle Plaine Township. They approved the comprehensive plan amendment for Diamond WLLC. That was that 5-acre parcel in Louisville Township that was landlocked that opened up with the Louisville frontage road. That was finally approved. So those are the items that were approved. The other comprehensive plan amendment that we deliberated on in December, it was a split 3-3 vote. That was scheduled to go to the county board on January 19th. The applicants did ask for a 6-month extension on any action. They want to have more time to meet with the Sand Creek Town Board and talk about improvements to Valley View Drive and better understand some of the improvements that will be designed in 2021 and built in 2022 north of the property. And so they asked for a 6-month delay before any board action on that. I'm going to be handing out something that I sent Commissioners Hartman and Henches. It's a kind of a year in review look at. So every January I try to provide kind of data on some of the building activity that occurred in our townships. And so this is a data point that we share every year, looking at the number of new home permits issued in the 11 townships. And the spreadsheet that I'm handing out here looks every year from 2010 to just this past year of 2020. And as you can see, the bottom line, the 75 new home permits were issued in the 11 townships. And so it's a little down from 2019, but certainly on pace with the last 3 or 4 years. When I talked to the building officials, well, new homes might have been on pace. They felt like there was certainly an uptick in permits related to renovations and decks and home improvement projects. But a lot of communities saw an uptick in that, given everyone had more time at home and maybe a little bit more money to be able to spend on those projects. So for those types of permits, there was certainly a big increase in 2020. But for new homes, 75 new homes were added. Probably what's notable is where a lot of those new housing starts happened or occurred, and that was in Newmarket Township. And if you've been on the board for a few years, you know that about 2-3 years ago, we saw a really uptick in the amount of preliminary and final plats in Newmarket Township. And so it's natural that a year or so later, we would start seeing homes going into those developments. So you see 20 new homes in that township. I think Cedar Lake and Spring Lake had the next most. So as is no surprise, it's the area that we're allowing more density and allowing those 2.5-acre lots is where we're seeing most of the new home development. Now, starting in 2021, we will not be tracking Credit River any further. Credit River will be doing its own building permit process and issuing their own building permits. So this will be the last year that we'll be able to track and compare Credit River's building rates to the other townships. Final item, as I mentioned in an email to you last week, we do not have any items for our February Planning Commission meeting. And so you will have the second Monday of your February off. You will not be coming in here. And we will meet in March, and we're pretty confident that there will be several items for the March meeting. The news there is that this room here, the county boardroom, is going to be shut down on March 3rd, is the tentative date when much of this building will start shutting down for renovations. And so that means the March meeting, we've actually started looking at different options to hold that meeting. And we don't know yet whether we'll be able to find a place for March and then all the other months of the year, or if we're going to have to find a meeting place for March and maybe April and then find another place. So we're actively looking at that and looking at venues that can accommodate us the second Monday of every month. And so we're working through that, and we're going to meet tomorrow as a staff to finalize some plans, and we'll certainly communicate the new location, and I'm sure we'll remind you, and we'll remind you the day of, because all of us would naturally want to come right here for that meeting in March, and I'll keep reminding you where that new location will be.
And how long did you anticipate that we might be moving around till the room's available again here?
Through the end of the year. So this building will not be up and running again until hopefully a year from now, January, February of 2022.
Where are the commissioners going to meet?
Yeah. So the commissioners have agreed that they're going to meet at each city hall. So every month, they have 2 meetings a month, and they're Tuesday mornings. They'll meet at a city hall each month, and it's on a rotation, so they'll hit all 7 city halls throughout the rest of this year. And that certainly is an option for us to look at maybe some city halls as well, council chambers, and we're looking at that. We're looking at other facilities, county-owned facilities that we have a little bit more control over reserving the space and the technology. And we're looking at some town halls as well.
Brad, it would seem to me that,
Yep, Donna, you're muted.
Yeah.
okay, thank you.
No problem.
Brad, it would seem to me that it's gonna cost an awful lot of money to relocate us someplace with the technology needs that we have. Did you give any thought to maybe just doing a Zoom meeting in March and April to buy us some time here?
It is a good question. I think if March's agenda does not have a lot of items that tend to bring the public in, we could certainly look at that and buy us another month. We just tend to have topics that residents and neighbors really like to come in person, and so it's hard to direct them to do this type of Zoom meeting. So we'll just have to see what's on the agenda. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Can we do a whole Zoom meeting? I mean, don't we have to have some people physically there?
That's a good question.
What was that,
Can we
Commissioner?
do a whole Zoom meeting, or don't we have to have some people, like the chairman and stuff there?
No, technically, we could have a whole Zoom meeting. We've just asked to have some in-person presence like this, just because we know that there's people, the public, that want to be here in person, and we felt it was nice to have some commissioners here in person to interact with them. For every meeting, we send out hundreds and hundreds of invitations through the public hearing notice saying, this is your chance to comment, come in and comment. Many of them will comment ahead of time. Some of them will send us emails, but as you saw tonight, there's always residents who feel like they really want to be there in person. So we felt like it's important to have some staff and a few commissioners in person as well.
Brad, my comment was mostly directed to, frankly, the time of year and weather. I mean, if we're not having a meeting in February, that's great. And if we zoomed just in March, because that's such a funny year for weather, and if we're all driving to different places we haven't been to before, in the winter, maybe we could just zoom them up.
Yeah, no, Commissioner Henches, I think it's a good idea. Like I said, I think we'll know once we know exactly what's on the agenda. And if it seems like we could do it all through Zoom, we'll certainly keep that open. Keep that idea open. Yeah. That is all that I have for an update.
Oh, Gary will.
Oh, Gary.
Muted.
Yes, Gary, go ahead.
Gary's hand is up.
Commissioner Hartman, go ahead. You're muted right now. Unmute yourself.
Brad,
There you go.
Brad, I have 3 questions.
Okay.
Number 1, where does Credit River Township meet?
Yeah, I believe they're still meeting at their town hall building, which is off of 68?
68.
Yes.
68 and
68.
27.
Okay, I know where it is now, thank you. Question number 2, is there going to be any solar garden applications coming in this year?
Good question, Commissioner Hartman. I know that one company had contacted me to get the map of all the existing solar gardens, so they saw where they fell in that radius area that we don't allow other gardens. So I sent them that map, and I haven't heard from them. I don't know if, Marty, if they contacted you any further. It felt like there was a company that was looking in the Belle Plaine area, but it doesn't sound like it's really materialized. But nothing formal's come in.
I'm kind of surprised that at the very beginning, the area down by Blakely and Henderson was targeted. And then, but as it turned out, there really didn't end up being anything down there. But then the third question is, can we look at that landscaping and screening ordinance again on solar gardens sometime? No rush. Just when I'd like to go over that before any applications ever come in. Just to take a look at it, even if it's just a minute.
Absolutely, great point, Mr. Hartman, Commissioner Hartman. And that reminds me that Marty and I did have a phone call with the developer of the community solar garden along 282 that's been brought up a lot, and questioning whether they've really fulfilled their landscaping requirements. We are going to meet with them in the field once the snow melts to really look at each material and see if everything's in place. We're looking at ways to maybe find some different plantings for them for free so that they could add to what they have out there. So
Yeah.
we're trying to address that specific development. But to your point, yeah, we'll look at the ordinance and see if we need to do any adjustments before the next application comes in.
Yeah, Brad, that's exactly what I was kind of hinting at. And do we also have like a time, like a warranty, a landscape warranty, like so many years that the trees have to live?
I'm going to turn it to Marty. Marty knows that.
Yeah, Commissioner Hartman, we do have a warranty period that we hold a $5,000 escrow to ensure that plants get replaced during. It's about 4 or 5 years, but even after that, they're bound by the conditional use permit or interim use permit, whatever it happens to be. So they do have to replace those plants if they die, even if they die outside of the warranty period.
Okay.
Yeah, and the other thing I was going to say, we did increase the heights and sizes of plant materials. I think it was after the first 3 solar projects, the 2 on 282 and the Geronimo one. So if you look at some of the more recent ones, I think you'll see that the landscaping plantings are a little bit bigger than what was there on those first couple. So I think initially we only had a 4-foot height requirement, and now we have a 6. So it's a bigger plant that we require now than we did, for sure on the 2 on 282 that came about.
Thank you.
Really good questions, Commissioner Hartman, and they remind me that in addition to community solar gardens, a few of our county commissioners have suggested that they would like to do a workshop sometime this spring to talk about a few other uses that we are currently allowing in our ordinance. One of them is private heliports and revisiting where and how those should be permitted in the future. The second one is shooting clubs and hunting clubs. And a third one is more an accessory use, but it's the use of motocross, building a motocross track and that kind of equipment on the property. So there's those 3 items that commissioners have asked for some discussion with us. And I sense that those are topics we would definitely also have a workshop with you and talk through. You probably have your own ideas on those as well. So I think that will be a spring project for us, is revisiting some of those uses.
Great.
Okay, anything else for the cause? Anyone? Excellent. Look for a motion to
And
adjourn.
just a quick question, have they considered the Scott County Highway Department at all for meetings?
That is on the list, Commissioner Johnson. I was just talking to Marty about that tonight. It's a nice central location. We'd be able to get after-hours access to it, so we don't have to work with another entity. The room, I haven't been out there in a while. I don't know what kind of shape it's in, but I'm going to take a look and see if it could function as a meeting spot. So is one idea.
Okay. Anything else?
Just one other thing.
Commissioner
Brad,
Hensis?
when I was with Community Corrections, that building that's right across from, it's right on the corner there. We used to have all our Community Corrections meetings there. Is that building still standing? It's right across from the Scott County Government Center.
Yeah, Commissioner Hensis, I know what room you're talking about. That did get torn down when the new building went up, and that's going to be now our parking lot for the new building. So
Well,
that,
the other place we met that was very comfortable and it worked well was actually the jail. They have a couple of nice big conference rooms there. Now, the strip search getting in was a little rough.
Yep. That is another place we're looking at. It's currently being used for storing some COVID-related supplies, but we're going to see if that will be opening up here this spring.
Okay.
It might be tough to get the public to come voluntarily. Anything else for the cause? Anyone else? Okay. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Robbie, second by Commissioner Huber. All in favor, voice vote? Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you very much. Have a great month.
Your holiday was good too?
Yes, it was.
Everybody's was good?
Oh, yeah.
Everybody's good.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone good?
A little different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Less family and all that. Hopefully next year we'll back to normal.